Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. And it's a blooming freezing world here in Spain. It is so cold. So, for anyone who doesn't know, my name's Vicky Marie. I talk about true crime normally, mostly. I am British, but I'm based in mainland Spain, where it is absolutely freezing today. So I've got my blanket. Well, it's not a blanket, it's, a throw over my knees like an old woman. Well, I am an old woman, but really, really chilly today. Ooh, so it's 12 degrees, but it's actually the wind chill factor that's making it cold. It's windy. My hands are freezing. Where's my gloves? Actually, I've got some little gloves somewhere. Very, very chilly. So let me know how the weather is where you are. I hope you're all well anyway, whatever the weather's like. I know my chatters are sort of from all over the world. So, yeah, different places have got different, are in different seasons at the moment. I know. Here in Spain, we're in winter, but having said that, it is nearly December and it's only just got cold. And 12 degrees, I know it's not that cold, but believe me, when you live in a hot country, when you've been through a summer of 40 degrees heat, you cannot cope with this with 12 degrees. It's like, you get this perfect temperature is about 21, 22 degrees, isn't it? Between 20 and 25. Anything higher than that or lower than that is uncomfortable. So it's really, really chilly. Anyway, I've got a bit of waffle before. I've got so many cases that I just got short updates on. So that I decided to put them all together in like a smorgasbord of crime. We're going to talk about Anna Kepner, the poor girl that was found deceased on the cruise ship. Celeste Rivas, who I haven't spoken about for ages. I spoke about her. She's the teen that was found in the back of the Tesla that belongs to a famous singer, David. And I haven't talked about her case for ages because it's another one of those confusing cases. Anyway, a little bit more clarity coming out now. So I'm just going to talk about it briefly. But again, I feel it because when there's a lack of information from official sources, the unofficial sources run a bit riot, don't they, with these cases? And so we're always hanging on for some official confirmation of what's going on. And that's it with Celeste Rivas. But there's a little bit of information that I want to talk about. Then I'm not sure which order I'm going to do it yet, but I'll be talking about Samantha Murphy. And this was the Australian woman who, quite a long time ago now, so it wasn't last February, it will be the February before, wasn't it, when she went off for a jog. She went out, normal routine, cleared up after her dog, went for a jog. She was supposed to be back for a family brunch, never came home, and to this day has still not been found. Her remains have not been found, but somebody has been charged with her murder, and he's due to have a trial next April. Still ages to wait for the trial. But anyway, a little bit more information that I found about him, about what sort of person he is. The alleged killer, don't forget, because he's innocent till he's proven guilty. And this is a very young man. I think he was only 21 when he was arrested. Patrick Stevenson. Samantha was 51. And there's so much, the Australian police are very tight-lipped about the circumstances of their, what evidence they've got, why he was arrested, in the absence of a body. Anyway, they're still looking for Samantha. I hope they find her before the trial, but anyway, we'll see. Then we're going to talk about John George, and John George was an Northern Irish national who travelled to Spain for sort of reasons that are unclear, but supposedly a few days break. He's possibly involved in sort of drug trafficking and things like that, but it's all very unclear again, because until the trials happen, we normally don't have all the information, do we? So someone's been charged, well, in fact, 2 people have been charged in connection to his murder, because he was then disappeared, and his family had an agonizing trial, if you like, that they had to go through, looking for his body in Spain, in a foreign country. They don't speak the language. They were given the wrong place where he was. Anyway, eventually he was found, and he had sadly been brutally murdered, and 2 people were arrested. And Johnny Smythe, who is currently in prison awaiting trial, there's a little bit of information about what he says, that he's hoping that new blood evidence is going to prove that he's innocent and he'll be home by Christmas. So we're going to just have a look at that. What else? Oh, Gus Lamont. Then this is the little boy over in Australia who disappeared from the homestead, from the family sheep shearing station. And we're going to look at an article that claims that there is no evidence that he ever left the property in the first place, because the assumption was that he'd wandered off. But there's been extensive searches made and no trace of little Gus has been found. Anyway, just an article in the Daily Mail who have definitely got it in for Gus's family. I'm convinced that Gus's family have got something to do with it. It is a very complicated family dynamic. All of these cases, obviously, that we're going to look at are complicated. I suppose that's what, if cases are cut and dried, if somebody disappears or somebody is murdered and it's straightforward who the killer is, or who, the perpetrator is, or that it was an accident and it was not foul play. Often it's clear, isn't it? And so, but they wouldn't be the stories that make the headlines, would they? Because they'd be straightforward. I mean, there are, obviously stories happening, crime stories happening every day, unfortunately, day in, day out. But only some of them reach the headlines. And that's normally because there's some mystery or controversy involved. If it's a straightforward case and people are held to account quickly, it doesn't normally make the headlines, or at least not for very long, does it? And of course, missing children do tend to sort of catch the headlines, especially when they're mysterious, like with Gus Lamont. Anyway, I'm waffling before I've even started waffling. So they're the cases that we're going to talk about in this. So it's going to be quite a long stream. I know some of you out there, you don't like long streams, you like the shorter videos. Well, I will be clipping this video into shorter clips, individual clips of each case. So if you don't like the waffle, then you'd be better off waiting for those to come out to watch them, if you want to watch them, or, it's not obligatory to watch me. I mean, I'm grateful if you're watching. But I know some people like longer videos, some people like shorter ones, some people like the waffle, some people don't. So, we're all snowflakes, remember, we're all individual people with our own unique likes, dislikes, etc. So I try and cater for all that by doing a long stream for those of you that like a long stream, and then cutting it into shorter videos for those of you who don't. But you could also, maybe you do want the information, or maybe you can take me in small doses, but you can't take me in a long stream. So I understand that. I'm the same with YouTubers that I watch. So, oh God, it's so cold. I should have had a coffee, actually. I've got pineapple juice, but I haven't got any ice in it, you'll notice. You don't need ice at the moment in your drinks, that's for sure. It's funny, really, because in the summer, the ice melts so quick, it's practically as if it only lasts about 5-10 minutes. And then in the winter, you don't need ice because it's bloody freezing anyway. Sorry. Okay, so I'm going to do a little bit of waffle before I even get going, before I even say hellos and things like that. So just to let you know that. Oh, I didn't put my banner up, actually. So don't forget to, while you're waiting for me to finish the waffle, remember to hit like. Please like the video. Remember to subscribe if you're not already subscribed. So what did I want to talk about? Oh, yeah. So Temu. So people who watch my channel regularly, you'll know I'm waiting for a Temu order. Oh my God, I could make a bloody docuseries on the Temu order. I'm never ordering Temu again. Never, ever. Anyway, so after waiting ages for any news, I'm going on the thing and it was no updates, no updates. And then overnight, after it had been this Temu order that I made, that's supposed to come from a warehouse in Spain, because they're supposed to have warehouses in Spain now, Temu. They're the liars as well. So, because if I would have thought it was coming from China, I wouldn't have bothered ordering in the first place. Because I'm impatient. I'm used to Amazon Prime. You order it comes the next day or a couple of days later. And I've now been waiting a few weeks and it's just irritating, So anyway, so after it been ages before it even went to the Chinese airport, then it was at the Chinese airport for 3 days. Then it was in transit from China to Spain, apparently. Then it got to Madrid. Then it was in Madrid for 3 days. And I just didn't even bother looking this morning when I first got up to see what any updates. And then suddenly, woof, 3 updates. Not only it had arrived in Madrid, but it's out for delivery. So within the space of an hour, I'd got 3 updates. And it's apparently out for delivery, and it assures me that when it says something's out for delivery, it will be delivered either that day or the next day. And it says, be ready to accept your order. So it's practically, so I'm thinking, because I've never ordered from Temu before, or I may have done years ago, I can't remember. What do they do if you're not in? Not that I'm out that much, but do you know Sod's law? Do you know if those of you know what Sod's law is? It's the law that whatever you're not expecting to happen will happen when you're not prepared for it. So I could be in my house for 23 hours out of 24. And if I pop out for an hour, it's Sod's law. That's when they're going to come and deliver this, or when I go in the shower, or when, I'm having a nap, or I'm on a live stream. These are examples of Sod's law, isn't it? That it will never be they're not going to deliver at a convenient time. And I don't know what they do. So with Amazon, I don't worry about it because they've got instructions there of where to leave the package if I'm not in or if I don't answer the door. In fact, my instructions to Amazon are don't ring the doorbell in the first place. Not that they ever take any notes of it. Don't ring the doorbell. Just put the package in the place that I specify. Because it gets all the dogs barking as well. When they ring the bell, the dogs all start barking, which especially when the big dog, for those of you who know me, I've got 3 dogs and one is a German Shepherd. If she's down here at the time, her barks are ear splitting. But I don't know, there didn't seem to be any delivery alternative, there's nothing. They don't ask you well, where do you want us to leave the package if you're not in? So I'm thinking, so what happens if I'm not in? Please don't tell me that they take this bloody package all the way back to Madrid or whatever. I mean, what do they do? Do they leave it somewhere, or do they decide to come back later that day or the next day or whatever? So I don't know what the rules are. So when I saw that this morning, as I'm just about to pop out to the supermarket, and only for a couple of bits, and take my dogs for a walk, and I'm thinking, oh my God, what time is it? What time is it? And I think it was about 9 o'clock. And I thought, they won't deliver at 9 o'clock, will they? They won't deliver at 9, surely not. Anyway, I took the executive decision to go and get it over with, get my dogs out, get to the supermarket, get the few bits that I needed for the weekend. Oh, because then they also say on it, it'll be either today or tomorrow. So what you're supposed to do, just sit in for 2 days, waiting for this delivery. I will never, ever, ever order from Temu again, which is a shame because there's a lot of things that I'd probably quite like to order from there, and they're cheap, of course. But now I can see why they're cheap. But you know, I can't be waiting this long for deliveries and sitting in all day. You know, and as I say, I don't even go out that much, but you just know that the minute you walk out the door, they're going to turn up and ring the doorbell, which will get all the dogs barking. Oh, anyway. So, anyway, they didn't come. I wasn't out very long, I've got to say, with the dogs. It was freezing. Poor dogs. They got a very quick sort of, 10-15 minutes, just let them do whatever they had to do and get back in the car. To be honest, I think they were a bit chilly because Riley's just had a clip, so he's got no hair on him. And I need to fish out their jackets. I've got some woolly jackets for them somewhere, and I've got to put them on them because, I can tell that Riley, since he had his clip, is feeling the cold because he keeps going under the covers that are on the chairs and that. Anyway, so I went to the supermarket. I literally was out about 20 minutes. Anyway, they didn't come. So there you go. That's good. So they may come in the middle of this stream. I don't even know when they're going to come. But I'm not moving out the house now until they do come. So the second bit of waffle I just wanted to tell you about was while I popped into the supermarket, I came out, got in my car, just about to drive off. And the supermarket is near the dog park of my village. And there were dogs in there going mad. And, this is what worries me about. So one of these dogs, I got like a PTSD because one of these dogs was a German Shepherd. And in fact, I think it might even be the brother or sister of our German Shepherd. Let's just put the, got an emoji for her somewhere. I think actually it may even be her brother or sister because when our dog was born, she was part of a litter of 11 puppies. 11. They called it the football team. So, and my son chose Princess Tia, but there were 10 other puppies that have probably, been homed not that far away from where we are. So what was I going to say? Oh, yeah, I was going to do wanted to put Tia up. So this is our German Shepherd, Princess Tia. And this dog that was in the dog park looked a lot like her. Now, she hates other dogs. It's funny because I think all of those puppies all don't like other dogs. I don't know, there must be something in the genes or something, I don't know. But they don't like other dogs anyway, this dog. So I looked over at the dog park and there's a woman in there with a couple of dogs, not as small as my dogs, but not massive, not big dogs like a German Shepherd. And this guy was with this German Shepherd, which was trying to get to these dogs. It was barking, and I recognised that bark. That dog wanted to kill those dogs. And the guy's just there with the lead. I mean, it wasn't obvious, at least it was on a lead, thank God. But you could see this dog. If that dog would have got to these other dogs, she would have killed them. I'm saying she, it might have been a he. I don't know if it's a girl or a boy dog. But if it's anything like Princess Tia, who's a beautiful dog. She's so lovely. She's so affectionate. She hates other dogs with a vengeance, which is why our dogs can't be put together. We've had a couple of close calls when she's escaped from where she's being held, she's got a bedroom of her own. Anyway, it's a long story. But she can open doors, we have to take the handles off so she can't get out. And I could hear it in this dog's bark because I've heard it in her. I just knew this dog, and this guy's just there with the lead, like, I mean, he didn't let go of the lead, but the dog is nearly getting to these other dogs. I don't know if they were trying to if he was trying to socialize this dog or what. What was he trying to do? I don't know. Or trying to prove that she wasn't aggressive or he wasn't aggressive. But that was an aggressive bark. It wasn't a bark, oh, I want to play. We know the difference with Tia as well. There is a difference. They've got their little girl dog bark. She's got her excitement bark, and that where you know that it doesn't mean anything. And then she's got her big girl's bark, and that is like she means business. If she got hold of whatever she's barking at, she's going to kill it. And that's what this dog was doing. I could recognize the bark. It was, oh God, I wanted to go over there and say, just get your dog out of there. And he's just stood there for ages. Like, I don't know, was he thinking it was going to stop barking or what? I don't know what he was thinking. For me, I would have just got that dog away from there, because you know, the other thing is that if that dog did do something to those other dogs, or to the woman, of course, because, you know, if she would have tried to sort of save her dogs, you know, that man would be liable for it. And that dog might end up being put down. So you're putting your dog in danger. If you've got an aggressive dog, like our dog, Tia, we wouldn't take her now. Used to, but since she got attacked by a dog herself, and that's really what turned her, wouldn't take her now to the dog beach or anywhere where there was other dogs, because we couldn't relax and know, you know, that she would be okay. So anyway, it really upset me, actually. I think it gave me a bit of PTSD because I could feel that something was going to happen. Anyway, I was like, I wanted to go over to him and say, look, get your dog away from those other dogs, because, you know, how does he not know that about his own dog? Anyway, in the end, I just got in the car and drove off, and they were still barking. So this was like 5 minutes probably of bark fest. And that was, as I say, aggressive barking. I could see the dog straining at the leash to get at these other dogs, and not to play, but to bloody chomp down on them. And then hit the woman and him. Don't know if the woman was telling him off, or maybe she was trying to get out. She couldn't get out of the dog park because he was sort of stood near the door of it. It was really weird. Honestly, people with their dogs, it's not the dogs, it's the people. They're not. If you've got an aggressive dog who doesn't like other dogs, and you love them, you know, that's it. And they're probably lovely with you or people or your kids or whatever, but you don't take them around other dogs. Like it, you know, I wouldn't have a big dog around children either, to be honest, not because, well, any dog really. I wouldn't trust my dogs, my little dogs around kids, because they're not used to kids. So unless a dog has grown up with a child, and even then, you know, because dogs at the end of the day, they have bad days like we have bad days. And if you've got a very powerful, big, powerful dog, you know, I just wouldn't never leave my child on its own with a dog. But anyway, there you go. Even a little dog I wouldn't, because even cats, you know, because you just don't know. They are, as much as I'm an animal lover, and I am. I love dogs, I love cats, I love any animals, but they are animals. So, you know, and really, if you think about it, you can't. Why would you leave your children with an animal when you really shouldn't even leave them with a person that you're not too sure of, because you just don't know, do you, what's going to happen? But anyway, you know, it's so I just want to talk about it because it actually really upset me. I mean, nothing happened, and I presume all the dogs are okay. And I just didn't understand why this guy was just stood there, letting his dog strain at the leash and bark, and that aggressive bark. It wasn't a bark, oh, I want to play with these other dogs. You know that, the difference between that and I want to kill these dogs and rip their heads off. That was the sort of bark it was. And, you know, German Shepherds are beautiful dogs, but they can do a lot of damage. They've got the strongest jaw. You know I've had to prise my dog's jaw off two of my dogs. a dog that I used to have that had just about prized her jaw off. She hated that dog. And now my Rocky, she doesn't like him, and I've had to prize. You know, they literally like, they lock down like that, and then you have to prize them open. And if you're lucky, you know, luckily she didn't bite me, but not that, you know, I would have still done it anyway because I couldn't let her kill my dog. But anyway, you know what I'm trying to say. So I'm just trying to say, I think for people who've got dogs, big dogs especially, because they're just harder to control. I know little dogs can be just as aggressive, but it's much easier to cope if a little dog is attacking someone or another dog. You can just pick it up. It's easy. But if you've got a big dog, it's so much harder because they're so powerful, aren't they? So, and this was a guy with this German Shepherd, and he was just like, I don't know, it looked like he wasn't in control of it at all. And I thought, you know, if you can't be in control, like I wouldn't have a German Shepherd again. I mean, the German Shepherd, as much as I love her and I absolutely adore her, but I can't take her out for a walk. I can't control her because she's too strong, you know. And my son struggles sometimes, and he's a big, strong guy, you know. She is just so strong. She's got muscles, like, you know, bloody hell, Mike Tyson's got nothing on her muscles. Anyway, so there you go. I have finished with the waffle now. So if you've managed to sit through that and you're still here, hello. Thank you for watching. Hello, lovely lurkers. Thank you for watching. Hello, you lovely replay crew. Thank you for watching. And now I am finally going to come into the chat and say hello to those of you who are brave enough to venture in the chat and sit through all my waffle. But, you know, waffle's good too. And while I'm doing that, and through the course of this video, let me know what you're doing for Christmas, what you're up to and that. We're still only on the 21st of November, so I won't be doing any Christmassy things till the 1st of December, as far as the channel is concerned. But I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it a little bit, the Christmassy feel. Okay, so hi, Lily. So we've got 2 degrees, Lily, 2 degrees in Hampshire. Oh my God. You know, when the weather's cold like this and the way it affects my bones, you know, I mean, I have got arthritis, so, you know, and I'm not getting any younger. And I can, most of the year, because it's warm here, I don't feel like but once it starts going cold, I start to sort of seize up. I'm like spotted dogs, or like that. Or if you ever saw the Disney Pixar film Robots, where they need to put oil in the joints, that's what I'm like. And so when it goes cold like this, which, as I say, it's not that cold really, you know, it's 13 degrees now and it's sunny outside, but I can feel that, you know, and I think, God, what would it be like if I was in the UK? If it was 2 degrees, I would literally freeze up, I think. Though, of course, you have got the central heating there, and there's no central heating here, so it's cold in the house. Hi, Maria. Hi, David. 13.7 degrees in Melbourne, Australia. So that's similar to here, isn't it? You're just starting to come into your summer, aren't you? You're in the springtime, I suppose, Maria. Are you? Maria, I could eat a waffle now. Yeah, actually, I could eat anything because I haven't had any breakfast. I got up a little bit late this morning, or late for me anyway. I think it was 8 o'clock, which is late for me. That was the other bit of waffle I'll tell you in a minute. I did have a lovely sleep last night. I slept really well, but I didn't wake up too late, and normally I'm up at 6, so that means that's 2 hours I've lost out of my day. It's that cold up here, I had to snap the dog off the tree. Yeah, David said. Yeah. Oh, so will my Temu parcel come full of Chinese writing? Oh, let me put the comments on stage. Oh, I always forget. Yeah. Chinese writing. They dump it at the door. Well, good. I want them to dump it at the door. I don't want them leaving me a note saying, we tried to deliver and you weren't there, so we're sending it back to China. That's what I don't want. Yeah. Oh, David, it was horrible just hearing it. You know, when you can tell when I hear Coco barking up the road, or any of the dogs that I hear barking sometimes here along my road, you know the difference as to whether it's a fight or not, or whether they're just having a bark fest. I call it a bark fest. My dogs do it all the time. They love barking. You know, that's what dogs do, isn't it, at the end of the day? But you know, when you can tell the difference between barking just for the sake of barking because they're a daft dog, or a yapper or whatever, and the difference between a dog barking, it means business. It's like, I'm going to kill you. You know, there is it. I could hear it straight away because I've heard it with my dog. I know the difference between these types of barks, and I just couldn't believe that they weren't taking the dog away. It's like, no, I'm going in that dog park, even though there's 3 dogs in there that my dogs want to kill. My dog wants to kill. I'm going in the dog park. Why didn't you just go off somewhere else? Honestly, I'll never understand it. Hi, Daniel. Hi, Proud Liberal. Hi, Miss Lee. Well, exactly. If your dog's aggressive, German Shepherd is aggressive towards other dogs. She was attacked by a dog a few years ago. She used to be fine. She used to be fine. We've taken her to the dog beach. I've taken her out. Never even had to have her on a lead. You know, because she's so concentrated on you. You know, not bothered. But she never was bothered about other dogs. And then she got attacked. In fact, I think she got attacked twice. I wasn't with her when she got attacked. My son was with her. One was was a Labrador, I think, that attacked her, which is not a dog you would associate with attacking. You know, she's always been quite nervous of other dogs, and now she's sort of turned the other way, where she's like, well, I'm going to attack you before you attack me. So I would just not take her, you know, and it breaks my heart sometimes because I know she loves swimming, and I can't take her to the dog beach because I couldn't trust her around other dogs, and I'm not strong enough to keep her away from other dogs, even if she was on a lead or whatever. She's too strong. So I just don't take her. That's my responsibility as an owner, isn't it? To not take an aggressive dog somewhere where other dogs are. You just don't. So, you know, we don't, and that's it. It's your responsibility. But anyway, never mind. Oh, yeah, that's true, Proud Liberal. Hi, Proud. Uh, you know, German Shepherds are beautiful dogs, but, you know, sometimes they can be one, like just attached to one owner, you know. So, yeah, I remember that with President Biden. Yeah, there was didn't they have to remove one of them, didn't they? At least one of them from the White House because he kept biting people, you know. So at the end of the day, then, I mean, I say my dog doesn't bite people. It quite likes people. It's never bit a person or even really been aggressive. I think if someone was attacking you, it'd be a different story. But yeah, remember that with President Biden. Oh, I'm still waffling. I'm still waffling. Tiny. Oh, is your dog's name Coco? Yeah, well, Coco is the Chihuahua that lives up the road, and quite often it's out there barking at everybody. And my dog starts barking because it hears him barking. But, you know, Coco is just a typical Chihuahua yappy thing. But as I say, you can tell the difference. So anyway, I want to tell you this last bit of waffle before I get into these stories, because it is appropriate to crime. So last night, I slept really well. I woke up once in the night just to go to the loo, like you do. And I'd had this really vivid dream And what's unusual about, well, there's a few things that's unusual about this dream that I had. One, that I can actually remember it, because, you know, sometimes you wake up from a dream and you try and think, oh God, that dream, it was a nightmare. And sometimes you wake up and you try and remember the exact dream, but you can't quite. Every time, the more you try and remember it, it sort of goes away from you, but not so with this dream. And I just want to tell you about this dream because I feel like it had some significance. Maybe not, but I was in Australia, okay? Now, I had been watching I'm a Celebrity Get Me Out of Here before I went to bed, so that's obviously set in Australia. But a lot of the cases that I talk about are in Australia, aren't they? Like Gus Lamont and also the Desi Freeman and Samantha Murphy. You know, lots of cases that I talk about are Australian cases. But in this dream, so I was like having, I don't know if I was having like a guided tour, but I was with someone that was either a policeman or a guide. They had a uniform on. And we're walking around this sort of area that's wooded, but then we were sort of like high up on a hillside sort of thing in the bush, or in the outback, it'd be the bush, I don't know. But anyway, it was quite hilly. And we were walking, and this tour guide was showing me around. And then we looked, all of a sudden a helicopter started going over. And I said, oh, what's that helicopter doing? And it was flying so low. It was like it was looking for something. And it reminded me of like crime cases, you know, that I've covered where the helicopter's out or the drones are out, like looking for Gus Lamont or Samantha Murphy or anyone who's gone missing. And this helicopter was going really low to the ground. And they were like down. We were sort of on these steps going up a mountain. It wasn't a mountain, but it was like a hill or a mountain. And there was a clearing at the bottom, and this helicopter was sort of going round as if it was looking for something in particular. And I said, oh God, that helicopter's looking for something in particular. Maybe they found something, or maybe something's happened. And this tour guide or policeman, I'm not sure if it was a policeman or a tour guide, said to me, oh no, it won't be anything, you know, blah, blah, blah. And was trying to sort of, and I said, no, there's definitely something going on. And when I looked down at this clearing, there was a forensic tent set up over in the corner of this clearing, just as it went into the trees. There was forensic tent there. So I said to this person, oh no, there's a forensic tent there. They found something's going on here. And this person was trying to sort of say to me, no, it won't be anything. And in that moment, honestly, it's giving me chills when I think about it. So in that moment, I knew that this person I was with was a killer. It just hit me like a ton of bricks. This person has done something, and this is something to do with them. And as I realised that, they realised I realised it, and they were sort of getting a gun out of their pocket, and I just pushed them down these steps, and they went flying down the steps, and there were police at the bottom, and they arrested this person. That was the dream that I had last night. And so now I'm expecting some break in some case, you know, that somebody's found something or something's going to come out, because it was so vivid. When I woke up, you know, I was like feeling that I was still there, you know, when you have those really vivid dreams. So, yeah, so it was me having some sort of guided tour, or I was with a policeman or something. I don't even know. As I say, I don't remember if it was a policeman. I feel like it was a policeman, but why would I be wondering? Anyway, it was a dream. I shouldn't be trying to put logic in it. And yeah, seeing this helicopter flying around really low and saying to this person, oh, something's going on, and then looking around and seeing a forensic tent just over in the woods. And then this person saying to me, no, I don't think it's anything significant. And then in that moment, I just clicked that this was the murderer or the perpetrator of whatever had happened. This was them, and I was in a lot of danger. And then they realised, I realised, and started taking a weapon out, and I just shoved them down the steps. And they fell down all these steps like a really steep thing, landed at the bottom, and the police arrested them. So that was the dream I had last night. So I'm waiting for a story to break in Australia. I feel like, is something going to break? But anyway, if you believe in the significance of dreams. Greg Lynn, Marcos. Who's Greg Lynn? Who is Greg Lynn? You have to tell me who Greg Lynn is, because I don't know who it is. I thought Greg Lynn was in a group or something. Isn't he? Wasn't he in Electric? The High Country Killer. Oh, I'll have a look at that. Yeah, it could be, but do you know what? I occasionally have dreams about cases, but not that often. I don't know if you remember, but I had a dream about Samantha Murphy very early on. I dreamt that Samantha Murphy was sat up somewhere, deceased, but in a sitting position. Like very early on in that case, I dreamt that. I've dreamt about Sebastian Rogers. I only dream about him that he's running and running. That's what I always dream about him. A couple of times I've dreamt about him. But to be honest, it's rare that I dream about cases. But I suppose, maybe you're right. And then the combination of watching I'm a Celebrity, which is set in Australia. Anyway, right, I really am going to stop waffling. Oh, there were forensic tents in the bush. I can see it. I could draw a picture of the scene. If you imagine you've got like a valley going down with steps. We were at the top of the steps, at the bottom of the steps, which were it was a long steps, a clearing. But then over on the right, there was these forensic tents, and then this helicopter flying over to the left. I can see it as clear as anything still. So just thought I'd let you know about that. Now, I really am going to start talking about the cases now and stop waffling. So where are we going to start? Let's start with John George. Now, John George, some of you might not know about, John George. Let's put a picture up of John. This guy is from Northern Ireland. So he comes from Northern Ireland, but the actual crime occurred in Spain. That's how I sort of got interested in it, really, this particular case. Because it's thought that the actual murder of John, took place in the Orihuela Costa, which is an area I know very well here in Spain. I could travel to it quite quickly. I've been there a few times. And John was there on holiday, supposedly. And then that strange video came out that he used to phone his dad quite often. And he'd phoned his dad, and he seemed to be like nervous and be thinking that something bad was going to happen to him. Anyway, something bad did happen to him, because then apparently a flight was booked for him to return to Northern Ireland. But it's not clear that he actually booked that flight. Was it him who booked it, or his alleged murderer who booked it to take him back to Northern Ireland? So his family were expecting him to come back, and he never got on that flight. So then that resulted in this awful, I mean, what that family went through, whatever you think of John George and the lifestyle that he had, or, a lot of people are a bit sniffy about John because he was involved with drugs or whatever. But, how anyone cannot feel for the family that had to go out there and look for their child's dead body. And he's also a father of two boys as well. He's a person, and it's terrible what happened to him. And I think, to me, the worst thing is exactly that they were sent on this wild goose chase looking for their family member who and looking for his body, because they were, they knew that he was deceased, had been tipped off that he had been murdered. So they weren't looking for John, as a person, that they were going to be reunited with him. They were looking for his body so they could take his body home. And I think his dad, Billy, sort of endeared himself to most of us. Again, I don't know Billy personally. I don't know, what sort of person he is in general, but his impassioned videos saying, please just tell me where my son is so that I can take him home. Even now makes me emotional, because anybody could imagine that'd be a horrible thing that you'd have to do. So they were told all these places where he might be, and then he wasn't in any of those places. He was eventually found in a sort of private finca, Lemon Grove, in Algorfa. Was it Algorfa, wasn't it? I think Rocales in Spain. And they managed, at least they got to take him home, give him a burial, etc. So now we're waiting for the court case. So there was always an immediate suspects, the last people that had been seen with John, which was Johnny Smythe and another guy who's Czechoslovakian, I think. Mali's name, isn't it? Something Mali. Anyway, they were both arrested. Oh, well, Johnny Smythe went on the run. So this is what happened with Johnny Smythe. He didn't do himself any favours if he's not the person who killed George, which he's saying he's not, of course, because he went on the run immediately. He went off, he married his teenage girlfriend in Gibraltar, and then he went off to Portugal, and he was finally found in Portugal, brought back to Spain, and he's currently in prison. But he gets his conjugal visits from his, she's now 20, his girlfriend, well, his wife now. And that's perhaps a reason why they got married, because obviously as a married couple, she has a lot more rights, and he has these conjugal rights and things like that. Anyway, the trial is, he's been denied bail, whereas the other, Michael Malley, he's got bail under certain conditions. But of course, because Johnny was he's considered a flight risk because he's ran off once. So that would be why he's been denied bail, or he was denied bail. Anyway, he says he hasn't been denied bail. But anyway, I'm going to read the article out to you, and then you can make your own mind and tell me what you make up your own mind and tell me what you think. Now, the trouble with Spain is, as with even more so than other countries, things move slowly. I really feel for John's family, because whatever the truth of what happened to John, it's probably, I don't know what they've been told or not been told, but it's probably be quite a long time before the trial comes. They're thinking probably next year sometime, but even later stages of next year. So, it's just awful. You can't move on in any way, can you? So very sad. So the whole thing is very sad. Who knows why John was killed. And it was quite brutal. He was stabbed in the leg, he was shot in the face, he was shot another time as well. It's just horrible. The whole thing is horrible, whichever way you look at it. He may not have he may not have been a saint, which his family admit. If you think you've got perfect children, well, good luck to you. But he's not a perfect person. He wasn't a perfect person, but he did not deserve that. Nobody deserves that. And no family deserves to be left looking for the body of their child, in my opinion. So that's sort of where we are. So Johnny Smythe is in prison. Michael Malley is on bail, and both of them, of course, are saying that the other person did it. I think that generally is what's happening. What the actual truth is, only they know. But there is talk that there may be more proof than that. But unfortunately, being Spanish justice, which I'm not saying there never is Spanish justice, but it is slow. It's always slow. That just seems to be the way it is. me, Vet. Okay, so let's have a look at this article. I've got to take that picture off for a minute. So just want to say, love to John's family and everything. And, I hope they're coping okay. Thing is, what else can you do? You just got to put one foot in front of the other, but especially to his kids. I hope his children are, okay. But how can you be okay? Father's been murdered. But anyway. So just somebody sent me this. I do follow this newspaper sometimes. Some people say that the Sunday World is like a bit of a crappy newspaper. I suppose it probably is. Most newspapers are. But anyway, this is the story that they've got. It's an exclusive. Apparently, maybe someone's been paid for this story. I don't know. But John George murder suspect hoping to be home by Christmas. And so friends of John George murder suspect Johnny Smythe say that new blood evidence will see his release from a Spanish jail. And there's Johnny there. I think he's, 27 he is. He's from Newtown Abbey. So they're saying that new DNA evidence in the case should clear his name. And the source denied reports, because it had been reported that he'd been denied bail earlier this week, which I didn't even report on that because I thought he'd been denied bail ages ago. But anyway, so they're claiming, no, he hasn't been refused bail. He applied to the court in Alicante to be released completely from prison and the investigation entirely because his legal team believes new evidence has come to light which exonerates him. And while the court rejected his appeal this time round, they believe further evidence due to be submitted in the coming weeks could sway the judge to set Smith free. Now, the thing is, in Spain, the judge will decide everything. So if the judge thinks there is evidence that he's innocent, he will set him free. But I don't know what evidence they think they've got. So this is the other guy, this Michael Malley. He was arrested and he's been released on bail. And I think they're just blaming each other. He's saying he was an accessory, not the actual perpetrator. And he is free. Like, he's got his conditions of bail. I think he had his passport taken off him and he's not allowed to leave the country and he's got to report every 2 weeks or whatever. But he's free. He's living his life freely. So now these lawyers, though, for Smith are saying traces of blood was found on the number plates in a car belonging to his co-accused, Michael Malley. So, they're saying that the car that was used, because I don't know if it's clear or not whether John was killed in Orihuela Costa and taken to Rocales, which is about 20 minutes, half an hour away. 20 minutes probably, depending on which way you go. It's not that far away from Orihuela Costa. Are they saying he was killed in Orihuela Costa, taken to Rocales? Or was he taken to Rocales, maybe injured and killed there? Or maybe just taken to Rocales and then killed. I don't know, because as I say, until the trial, we won't know all the full details. This court, Torrevieja Court, where Michael Malley is there, I've been there so many times. Anyway. So Czech national Malley was arrested earlier this year and appeared in court as a murder suspect, but he was released on bail and is yet to be charged. No one will get charged until nearer the trial. Anyway, he has denied any involvement in the murder of John George. So they've got this really weird system in Spain. So, it's not like where you have to charge someone and just the judge decides who goes to prison, who stays in prison, what evidence to accept. The judge is everything. So, if you get a judge who's sympathetic to your cause, he could end up with a very low sentence anyway, even if he's convicted. Or he could end up with a really high, long sentence as well, depending on what the judge decides. you can't really go by precedent in Spain. You know, in most countries you work on precedent, don't you? But Spain's very arbitrary. So anyway, apparently a motion's been submitted to the court in August stating that if the blood samples turn out to belong to John George, it could constitute a dramatic shift in the investigation. And it's understood that should that be the case, it could be hugely beneficial to Johnny Smith. We can now reveal those forensic tests have been completed and all parties have been informed the blood on the number plates in Michael Malley's car was that of John George. And it was reported on Thursday that Johnny Smith had applied for bail, known as provisional release in Spain, with a hearing taking place during the week. And it was reported I don't think he's ever going to get bail because he did a runner the last time. That's why. You know, he did a runner the last time. The thing about Michael Malley, he could be the actual killer, but he's done everything right according as far as the Spanish courts will look on it. He got himself a lawyer. He surrendered himself to the police. I think it was him perhaps who told him where the body was. I don't know if the police found the body or whether Michael Malley actually told them where the body was. But as far as the Spanish judge will look at it, he's done everything right. Whereas Johnny Smith, he, you know, did a runner, went off to Portugal, went off to Gibraltar, first married his girlfriend, then went to Portugal, and he had to be brought back. So that won't go for him. You know, whatever the truth is, it won't go for him. So it was reported the prosecution objected to his release on the grounds he remains a flight risk, but this has been denied by sources in Spain close to Smith. So I don't know. I honestly don't know. But the Sunday World understands that the judge in the case is due to make a further ruling in the next few weeks after the DNA samples were verified, and is also waiting for yet more evidence, which is due to be submitted. Oh, yeah, and of course we will be coming up to the anniversary. Just a few weeks from the first anniversary of the murder of the 37-year-old. Yeah, so all that happened over Christmas and New Year. So that poor family was searching for their murdered relative all over Christmas and New Year. That was their Christmas and New Year last year. So, you know, and I'd say for his boys and everything, it's awful, isn't it? So apparently, according to the Sunday World, a hearing in the court in Alicante has been penciled in for the coming weeks, and those close to Smith are increasingly hopeful the judge could decide to release him at the very least on bail, but potentially could be ruled out of the investigation completely and released unconditionally. So we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, so just wanted to update you with that. You know, it's a case we've been following. So a little update on that case. So now I'm going to move on to the next one. Just make sure you're all okay in chat. So where are we going next? Let's have a look. Oh, so many things to talk about. Not that one. Where's the next one? Oh, we'll go on to Samantha Murphy now, I think. Now, I haven't talked about Samantha for ages. It's not that I didn't want to talk about her. It's just there's been no news, you know, and this literally is such another very sad story. So this is Samantha Murphy. She was 51 years old, from Australia, Ballarat in Australia, which is apparently a very nice area. She got up one Sunday morning, she sorted her dog out, off she went for a run. She was practicing for some kind of marathon thing she was doing. A normal Sunday routine for Samantha. And never came back. So the Australian police initially were saying, oh no, nothing suspicious. I mean, you know, they did lead us up a garden path a bit. And then, of course, there was a lot of suspicion on her husband, Mick, which, social media speculation, and not only social media speculation, but just generally media speculation, as always, because, Mick is her husband and family always comes under scrutiny, doesn't it, when somebody disappears? And then we had the Australian police saying, as far as they could see, there was nothing suspicious as far as they knew. And then there were hopes that maybe she'd had an accident and she was lying somewhere waiting to be rescued. Maybe she'd broken her ankle, or, and so there were lots of hopes in the beginning, weren't there, that Samantha would be found alive and well, maybe injured, but alive and well. But of course, as time goes on, this is what always happens, isn't it, in these missing persons cases? You get to a point after 3-4 days have gone past, and you know that they can't be still alive because water, they need water for a start. And out in the bush or whatever at night, and days go on and hopes dwindle, don't they? And then the police went for practically instantly from 1 minute saying no suspicious circumstances to the next minute saying, oh yeah, we think this was a targeted attack, to the next minute arresting this young man, Patrick Stevenson. And this caused a big furore because his dad is sort of a semi celebrity in Australia because he's a football player, Australian football player. And Patrick is his son, and he's like he's like an Australian golden boy, all Australian boy. And only 21 years old when he was actually arrested. And we still don't know the reasons why he was arrested. Apparently there's unparalleled amounts of evidence against this boy, CCTV evidence. So, but until the trial, it won't come out. So this is going to be like one of those like the Erin Patterson case in Australia. It's not like America where they seem to release information. We're just getting no information whatsoever. And Samantha, her body has still not been found. So Samantha is still out there somewhere. And there's been a few bits of excitement this year when they found her phone. And then they took Patrick out to the bush. Do you remember? For anyone who's interested in this case, there's a playlist on my channel about the case. They took Patrick out to the bush, and there was a bit of excitement, wondering is he finally, because he's apparently not cooperating whatsoever. But he did go out to the bush, so there was wondering that was he going to say finally where Samantha is? Anyway, she hasn't been found. I hope her remains will be found one day. Just give her family that closure of bringing her home, saying goodbye to her. She's got 3 children, ranging from sort of a teenager, Jess, right down to a very young, a young son who's, I think he perhaps 10 now, will he be? So this is a family missing their mum, a husband missing his wife, and obviously just generally people missing Samantha that were in her life, and no real answers. I think we're going to get the answers about what happened to her, and of course Patrick is innocent till proven guilty, and we always have to remember that. But it seems like I just think he wouldn't have been arrested unless there was good reason for him being arrested. And then, of course, it transpired that he's been in problems before. He likes to take drugs when he goes out, get absolutely high as a kite. We've seen videos of him off his face. He'd got involved in a bad accident that he'd virtually got away with because he was an all-Australian boy and of who his dad was, I feel like he had special treatment. I do feel like he did get, and I feel like boys like this, they do get special treatment because he doesn't look like what you'd expect the person you'd expect to be a killer, you know, but serial killers, because to me, he's a fledgling serial killer, perhaps, if he's found guilty. You know, good job he got caught, because would he have gone on and done more crimes, similar crimes? Anyway, we don't know he's guilty yet, so I have to remember that. Allegedly. Anyway, I just wanted to, so I was just looking for some sort of update. Quite often people email me and say, oh, is there any update on Samantha Murphy? And I say, I'm sorry, there's just nothing. You know, I'm not going to come on here and just make stories up just for the sake of talking about someone. So, but I did find this article, because I do check virtually every day just to see if there's any new information. And I did find this article, so I'm going to read it out to you. So apparently, when Patrick was at school, he was thought to be the next Elon Musk. Now, I've got to say, it doesn't surprise me, because Elon Musk is an absolute twonk, isn't he? You know, God, you can't get much more psychopathic than Elon Musk. He's a horrible person. What positive contribution does Elon Musk bring to this world? Honest to God, he's nasty. The things he says are nasty. You know, and he can, I don't care if he's autistic or not. That's not an excuse for being a nasty twonk. Sends all this crap up into space that gets, you know, pollutes our atmosphere, pollutes the seas and everything. You know, why doesn't he criticizes homeless people and immigrants? He's down on anyone who hasn't got any money. You know, he's all in it. He's got all that money. And what positive contribution does he ever show? You know, that's how I feel about Elon Musk. Anyway, so apparently he was compared to Elon. So this is not a good thing in my eyes. You know, if you compared to Elon Musk, that's not a positive thing. It's a negative thing, in my opinion. So apparently some schoolmate of Patrick has revealed why he was described as the next Elon Musk. Wow, God. Can't say that's a glowing recommendation, not in my opinion anyway. I'll just watch this video, actually. This was when he was charged.
Kieran, you just walked out of the court.
On breaking news, Samantha Murphy's alleged killer has been identified. Holly Stearns has been following the developments in Ballarat. Holly, we can now disclose who the alleged killer is.
Kieran, you'll have to bear with me. We've literally just walked out of the court.
Yeah, because literally when he was first arrested, he couldn't be named in Australia. Anyway, in the end, people were naming him all over the rest of the world anyway. So the judge decided he could be named, but he was anonymous for a day or something.
Courtroom here, but we can reveal in breaking news that the accused killer of Samantha Murphy, 51-year-old Samantha Murphy, is 22-year-old Patrick Stevenson. We are able to share that information with our viewers now because the accused defence has just withdrawn the interim suppression order, meaning that the magistrate has already striked out that interim suppression order. We can reveal that Patrick Stevenson is from Scottsburn. That's about 10 kilometres from where Samantha Murphy's phone last pinged. What we can tell you is that he was living in the area. We understand through Sky News that he was living between two houses at the time. It's believed, we understand, that he was living at his own house, but also with his parents as well. We understand that he has two siblings, two sisters. Now, the neighbours of Patrick Stevenson and the Stevenson family have described them as a normal family, normal and nice family that went about their everyday routine as well. Now,
Allegedly, because of course we don't know, he's not been found guilty yet, but they're always normal families. This is what people have got to, you look at someone like Patrick, you couldn't imagine that he could, he just looks like a typical young lad. He's a good-looking lad. He had a girlfriend. He's out with his mates. Just maybe getting a little bit too sort of drunk and drugged up. But that's what young people do, isn't it? You couldn't imagine. I think this is going to come to a point where people cannot imagine that someone like this would do what he's alleged to have done. Same with Erin Patterson, you know, some sort of cozy little housewife type person. Oh, she couldn't possibly have murdered 3 people. But of course they do. This is what murderers look like. This is what evil looks like. It's not, you know, someone who looks like a nutter, but, you know, nutters, or not nutters, evil people do not look like evil people. They don't have it tattooed on their forehead. And so if this guy is found guilty, I can't wait to put him in the bloody hellhole, to be honest. Personally, I think the fact that the police supposedly have got all this material against him, and like you said, David, they've not picked his name out of a hat. They've not arrested this guy on suspicion of murder, charged him with murder for no reason. They'll have a reason. You know, and there is a reason why most people who go to court get found guilty is because they don't even get them to court unless they've got the evidence. So all I want to say, you know, people have got to stop looking at people and thinking, oh, that was a nice family and he's such a nice lad, and, you know, he's not an immigrant and he's not, you know, this, that or the other. You know, blaming the wrong people. Anyone can be a twonk. You know, even you good old Australian boys or good old American boys or girls, British people, there is no type.
Police have confirmed that they haven't said their motive about why exactly this has occurred. They have confirmed, though, that Patrick Stevenson is not in any way known to the Murphy family. They've not released the detail about what this piece of information was that has led them to arrest and then charge Patrick Stevenson with 1 count of murder. They have confirmed that it's likely Samantha Murphy was killed on February 4 in Mount Clear. Now, February 4 is the day that Samantha Murphy went missing when she went for her regular morning run. Police confirmed yesterday that this was not a hit and run, that this was a deliberate act. So just confirming this news here, Kieran, we have just come out of the Ballarat.
Yeah, because initially people were thinking, oh, you know, because I think he'd been out the night before and he was obviously under the influence of drink and drugs. You know, was it an accident? And he tried to cover it up, but the police have stated clearly, and they don't do that for no reason. You know, they've got that it was a targeted attack, not an accident. That's what they're saying. Now, you know, I know a lot of people don't trust the police. I don't see why the police would say that unless it wasn't true. But, you know, as we were saying there, you know, you could go for a million, but all killers, yeah, they don't look like Charles Manson. In fact, Charles Manson never actually killed anyone himself, did he? He never killed anyone. He got other people to do his dirty work. And the people he got to do his dirty work look like normal people.
Magistrates Court here, where we can confirm to our audience the identity of the accused killer of 51-year-old missing mother Samantha Murphy. That is 22-year-old Patrick Stevenson. Now, Kieran, I will of course bring you more updates as they come in, but at the moment there is a lot happening here. Ballarat is a tight-knit community.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, R. Yeah, you've met them. I just can't imagine the weight that these people are having to go through to have to wait all this time. There'll still be April next year before we get a trial. And I wonder if Patrick eventually, is he going to say where Samantha is? Is he going to admit where she is? Because there were a lot of thoughts that he might, you know, because as time comes nearer to the trial, and, you know, this is what often happens, isn't it? Will it even come to a trial in the end? Will he change his plea to guilty and do some sort of plea deal? Because he's a young lad. If he got a 20-year sentence, he'd only be in his 40s, early 40s, when he came out, wouldn't he? So as time goes on, if he thinks he's not going to get off with it, he may, you know, we may sit, but I think as well, he won't have wanted so far to say where Samantha is, even if he's going to plead guilty, because of DNA and things like that. The longer it goes that Samantha's remains are not recovered, the less forensic evidence there's going to be. You know, like if it was an SEX attack, that will be gone. you know, that sort of DNA and things will be gone. Depends sort of how finally he killed her, if he did kill her. You know, what will the forensic reports come up with? But, you know, this has happened before, hasn't it, in Australia? Not only in Australia, in other places. Sometimes killers, they hold off till the last minute before they say where the body is, because that way there's the less forensic evidence. The more time that goes, the less forensic evidence there is.
The story has obviously gripped the nation. It's made global headlines as well, Kieran. But of course, we will bring you more details as they come to hand. Just describing the accused as he sat in court today, Kieran, he was in a grey jumper. He looked tired. He showed no emotion. This is in comparison to yesterday. He came and he was wearing his tradie uniform. That's because potentially he was arrested on Wednesday morning by police about 6 a.m. And it's likely that he was getting ready to go to work that.
Yeah, this guy is a tradie. You know, he could have been in, you know, there'd be people out there, maybe he's been in their house doing some work for them. The thought of it, you know, and you'd think, oh, nice lad, you know, oh, lovely lad, you know, and look, his dad's like was a football player, and lovely family, nice family. Been, you know, and then finding out what they know now about him. You know, this is it. You've got to be careful of trusting people just because of the way they appear, or not trusting them because of the way they appear. Unfortunately, you just never know. You know, someone said in the chat, I think it was you, Miss Lee, that, you know, they're just people, and some people, regardless of what they look like, you know, they can hide terrible secrets.
Day when police moved in on him, Kieran.
Holly Stearns, thank you.
So that was the...
two female off-duty police officers.
I don't want that. I want to watch. I want to read the article now. So, yeah, apparently his ambition at school saw him described as the next Elon Musk. A former Damascus college student who went to school with Stevenson for 2 years said he was interested in IT, science and robotics, and even compared him to Elon Musk. He was a year older than Stevenson, but they were part of the same roll call class, and the accused killer was friends with his younger brother. We both took part in a science fair. We were working on robots together. He would ask for teachers for extra time to go and use the workrooms and tools. I remember him talking about how he wanted to come up with a solution to make cars more environmentally friendly to reduce carbon emissions. He seemed passionate about it, like he would pursue it later in life. You know, like, wow, he could be the next Elon Musk. Instead, he's the next Ted Bundy. No, sorry, I shouldn't say that. Yeah, sorry, black humour, sorry. Stevenson started high school at St. Patrick's College before moving to Damascus College for years 10 to 12. And despite the comparison with Musk, the 22-year-old became an electrician after finishing school. This was that video. Is this the video of him when he was totally sort of coked up, wasn't he, on a night out? So the latest news about Stevenson's interest during his schooling comes after friends revealed the former AFL footballer's son went on a bender the night before he allegedly killed Miss Murphy. So apparently he'd been on a massive night out with his friends, and he'd attended a party before heading to the deck, a bar and music venue in Ballarat, which is open to 3 a.m. Yeah, we watched. I've still got that video somewhere. You know, I just wanted to talk about Samantha because it feels like I haven't talked about her for ages, and we followed this case so closely. And I just don't want her name to be forgotten, you know, because it'll be after Christmas now, before it'll be April before the court case. You know, and I just don't know how Mickey's coping and the family's coping. It's hard for us as, you know, true crime sort of people who are interested in true crime, and we get engaged in the cases that we cover, and we do, well, I certainly do, and I know most of my chatters do. They really care about the victims that we talk about. It's hard to know that, you know, to wait for all this information. So how is it for the actual family? You know, it just must be awful, and my heart goes out to them. So a video from the night appears to show lines of white powder arranged on a mobile phone, with Stevenson's friends suggesting that cocaine had been consumed at the party. Well, this is what young people do, but you know, a lot of young people who do those things, like they take drugs or drink or whatever, they don't go on and then murder someone who's just on a jog. So, okay. So the police have alleged that he murdered Miss Murphy in Mount Clear while she was on a morning run through the Woo-Woo-Kurrung Regional Park, around 5 kilometres from her Ballarat East home. Now, I think the reason that Samantha's case captured the world is because she was just doing a normal thing. She was out having a run, and it highlighted it in Ballarat. Ballarat is this that lady, well, say lady, it might be a man, there's someone who was in the chat before. Ah, right, oh my God. My friend had work done by him and said he was so lovely. Exactly. Psychopaths are charming. That's how they end up. Look at Ted. I mean, people always hold Ted Bundy up as an example, but it's true. You know, he's a very charming man. He had girlfriends. People were in love with him. People said how lovely he was. He worked on some rape crisis line, and he was into politics. And you know, couldn't have met a nicer person. That's how he got away with it for so long, Ted, because it was a time of not DNA as well. I mean, he won't get away with it so long now because, of course, now we've got DNA and things. But, you know, he got away with it for so long because he was so normal looking, you know, whatever that is. And that the whole nature of a psychopath, sociopath is to be charming. They can be whatever you want them to be. You know, they sense, psychopaths copy the way you are. So if you're a nice person, they'll copy you. They copy your emotions because they don't have any emotions of their own. So, yeah, he will have seemed like a lovely young man. Oh, young man, you know, you can imagine. It's quite scary, isn't it, that people can put on this facade. You know, it is quite scary. Hi, Angel. So anyway, we'll see. Yeah, maybe you're right. I think he was on a bender the night before, though. His friends have said that, but I know that actual video, I think, was from another night. The video was from another night, but I do think he had been out the night before. But I don't, you know, it's all nothing's big. Again, you know, we don't get official confirmation probably till the trial, and there's still 5 months to wait for the trial, at least, unless something happens in between. So, very strange. Yeah, and of course he's changed his appearance a lot. I've got the videos of him when in his court appearances, which I'm not allowed to show, though you know, I have showed photos in members and things. He looks completely different. He hasn't got that fresh face look. He's got one of them great big beards, and he's really big and stocky. So he's been working out, that's for sure. He looks like a different person. You know, but he's very quiet and softly spoken. He's just, when I've seen him appear in court, and he just gives the information he has to give and sits there, and he looks very innocuous, even though he's a lot bigger now than he was then. But yeah. Oh, and the other thing I just wanted to say is, so Ballarat is a small place, isn't it? And they, you know, in Ballarat the year before, they had no murders. And in that particular year, in the first 3 months, they had 3 murders. 3 women were murdered by men, allegedly. And in fact, one of them, Hannah, she's just, maybe you know about that case. Hannah Maguire, I should have, I've already put her boyfriend in the hellhole, I think. Or maybe I haven't yet. Maybe I need to do that. But Hannah Maguire, who was 23, need to get a photo up of her. Yeah. Let me share these. This was another beautiful woman murdered. That's in that same, Ballarat went for not having any murders one year, and then the following year, in the first sort of quarter of the year, 3 murders, 3 women in Ballarat or in surrounding areas, and 23-year-old Hannah Maguire was murdered by her boyfriend, or ex-boyfriend, I should say, Lachlan Young, who not only murdered her, but then tried to say that she'd killed herself, set her car on fire, and said that she'd done it to herself. Anyway, he eventually did the right thing. He pled guilty. He's just been sentenced. I'll check the sentencing in a minute. These are the 3 women here that were killed in Ballarat. Yeah. I tell you what, sometimes you just look at these people and think, what did she ever see in him? I think, the thing that happens sometimes with relationships that people get into when they're young, they outgrow them, don't they? Like, so Hannah probably got with Lachlan when she was quite young, and then she's outgrown him because she's realised, what a waster he is. He's like total waste of space. She's moved on. She had everything to offer the world. As usual, it always seems to be these women that have everything to offer, and their lives are stolen by wasters who have nothing to offer to the world, and then they just have to be bloody paid for in prison. But she was a beautiful person inside and out. How often do I say this on these things? Look at him, what a knob. Sorry, what a twonk. If you remember, please put your what a twonk things up, because this Lachlan, he is a complete twonk. Let's see if I can find I think he got 20 odd years. I think. Yeah, 28 years, which is not that much really, is it? I don't think, for a young lad like him, because he's only 23, so he'll only be in his early 50s. I say, I know to young people that seems old, but if you're old like me, that 50s is still going to get life, isn't he? If he's got a chance of getting out when he's in his early 50s. So look at what he did. He strangled her in her home, and then placed her body in her car and set it alight. And then he tried to say that she'd unalived herself. So foul mad. So although 28 years, it's a good sentence. I think Australian sentences, they're not brilliant, are they? I mean, Erin Patterson got a good sentence, but she did kill 3 people. So 28 years for a 23-year-old, he's still got a chance. I mean, he may not get released after 28 years, of course, but he's got a chance of getting alive. Hannah doesn't get a chance, another chance. She's been stolen not only from her own life, stolen from her family, and stolen from society. Society needs people like Hannah, does not need people like Lachlan. What a twonk. Oh, I can feel myself getting angry. I don't want to get angry because there's lots more to get angry about yet. Let me put what a twonk up. Thank you for putting the what a twonk. So yeah, a few twonks in Ballarat that particular year. I don't think there's been any murders there since. So it was like this clutch of murders. It's weird, really, isn't it? 3 murders literally in the first quarter of the year. You know, strange. Anyway, so where am I going now? Right, so I just want to talk very briefly, because there's not a lot to say really, about Celeste Rivas. Now, Rivas, so this is a very strange case. They're all strange cases, that's, I suppose, why we talk about it. So this is Celeste, 15 years old, and she was going out with this idiot singer, David, who spells his name in a weird way, just to try and look cool. And it's very strange, this, because she's supposed to have been having a relationship with him. But again, she's 15. You can't call it a relationship. It's abuse. You know, when you've got an adult man having calling someone like this his girlfriend, or she's calling him her boyfriend, she's 15. That is abuse. It's not a relationship, is it? So she was found in the back of his car, in the boot of his car. Some people say she was dismembered. Other people say, no, she wasn't dismembered. It's just that she'd been there so long, her body had started to come apart, which is a horrible, horrible thought. This poor girl. Anyway, the thing is, she was in the boot of the car. She was deceased. Again, there's a total vacuum in what the official people are saying. How long had she been there? Was her whole body in there? Because some people are saying there was only parts of her in there. Then they were saying that David was not a suspect, and his entourage, they were suspects. And so that's why I've left this case alone from the first, if I can't remember, it's probably been a couple of months since I've spoken about this case, because there's been so much conjecture in between. Anyway, finally, he has been identified as a suspect. So it's took all this time, because she was found on the 8th of September. So it's 2 months ago. In the front trunk of a black Tesla registered to David, whose real name is David Anthony Burke. And the car had been ticketed in a Hollywood Hills neighborhood and then impounded in a tow yard in Los Angeles. And the police have said apparently she probably died in the spring, and that David had probably helped in dismembering and disposing of the body, but he has not been cooperative in the investigation. So literally, that's more or less it, that we do know finally now that he has been identified as a suspect. Now, there's something else that's come out, which is that he did some mystery trip, which seems to be acknowledged as being relevant to the case. So let's have a look at that. What they've got to say. But there's been so much conflicting evidence. I need to just say, whatever I show on here, especially from TMZ, it's like there's so much conflicting evidence. It seems like every day they're saying something different. So you let me know what you think, but take everything with a pinch of salt until official information comes out.
Now, I'm also told that logic is not a big part of this case, because a lot of it doesn't make sense just in terms of everything that happened. I want to talk about the mystery still in this David investigation. We broke the story yesterday that David is viewed as a suspect in the death of Celeste Rivas. The big mystery centers around something that we have now confirmed absolutely as true, that the LAPD has some tracking information where they claim that David took this mysterious trip to a very remote area of Santa Barbara County in the middle of the night in the spring of 2025.
Yeah, so they seem to be making a big deal about this trip to Santa Barbara County, that he went off there was there for a certain length of time, and the police seem to have, this seems to be a big deal. So did he go there, take the body there, bring it back? Did he bury some of the body there? Did he bury the murder weapon there? So it's created all this speculation.
Now, that is months before the body was discovered in Los Angeles in a trunk. I don't think it's hard to connect the dots. And he stayed there, by the way, for several hours. So I don't think it's hard to connect the dots that one of the things they seem to be looking at is whether Celeste was killed then and he buried the body there or left the body there in some way. If he did that, then the question would be, why would somebody, whether it would be him or somebody else, remove the body from Santa Barbara County, which is 100 miles away from LA, and bring it to Los Angeles, and then put it and leave it in a trunk on a well-traveled street, only to be found after the car was abandoned? That's the part that doesn't make sense. And I think that's at least.
Yeah, nothing makes sense much in this case, does it? But I mean, I was sort of thinking, was he hoping that the car would be towed and crushed? But fancy leaving a body in a car and hoping that nobody would find it. It's weird, isn't it? But, this is another one. Mysterious. Lot to come out yet.
At least what I'm hearing, that's something the LAPD is really looking at. But I believe they have a theory. I don't know what it is, but based on our information, they have some theory about if the body was buried in Santa Barbara County or left in Santa Barbara County in some remote area, how it came back to Los Angeles. And that may also explain why we are told the LAPD believes that David would have had help. And now I don't know whether that help would be taking the body from Santa Barbara back to LA. I don't know. But that, to me,
well, I mean, it's been backwards and forwards. They were saying it was nothing to do with David, but it was one of his entourage. And now they're saying, yeah, David's a suspect, but somebody else was probably involved. I mean, that's why I've sort of stayed away from this case, really. And I probably won't be looking at it again until something clear comes out. But I do think once they actually was named as a suspect, that is official information that we can sort of comment on.
Is the logical way of connecting the dots. Now, I'm also told that logic is not a big part of this case because a lot of it doesn't make sense just in terms of everything that happened. But based on this Santa Barbara trip, it seems that the LAPD's operative theory is that Celeste was killed in the spring of 2025. The body not discovered until around September of this year. Now, the other thing that's interesting is there has not been a formal cause of death determined by the medical examiner.
So that's the other thing. So they still have not announced what Celeste's cause of death was, and that could be because they don't know, or they're waiting for toxicology reports. Nobody's been charged. David hasn't. He might have been announced as a suspect, but he's not been charged. He's not been arrested. Don't even know where the hell he is, to be honest. It's like it's odd how slowly this case is moving. These are cases that are not straightforward.
Nor has the LAPD received the toxicology report. So they can't say that this is a homicide and David is a suspect because they can't definitively say now that it's a homicide. Their operating theory, we know, is that it is a homicide, but the coroner, the medical examiner, has not said that yet, nor has the medical examiner delivered toxicology to LAPD. What I'm told is the relationship between the medical examiner's office and the LAPD is not the greatest, because now we're 2.5 months in since the body was discovered, and still the LAPD doesn't know A, cause of death, B, what the toxicology shows. And what I'm told is this kind of underscores not a great relationship where the medical examiner is particularly cooperative with the LAPD.
What the fuck? I'm sorry, excuse my French, but you know what? These are professional people. Surely they're not going. It's not about a personal relationship between the LAPD and the medical examiner. You know, for fuck's sake, it's not about. Oh no, I'm not giving you the cause of death because you pissed me off the other day. For God's sake, this is making me really annoyed. So it's been like 2 months, over 2 months. And this poor girl, they don't even know her cause of death. And he's trying to say, oh, it's because there might be a bad relationship. It's like, oh, well, I'm not telling you what the cause of death is unless you do this or, you know, because you were nasty to me the other day. These are professional people. Oh, God, this is why I've not been commenting on this case, because it's a lot of it comes out this TMZ and they're full of shit a lot of the time. You know, but so I'm not having that. I don't believe that the reason that they've not released the cause of death is because they don't get on, because they're having a hissy fit at each other. Don't believe that at all. So there'll be a proper reason. Now, God knows what it is. I have no idea. But I'm sure there's a proper reason, not just the reason that they don't like each other.
2.5 months isn't unusual for and I hate to use the term, run-of-the-mill homicide case, but this is a very high-profile homicide case. And a lot of times that can be accelerated. It doesn't seem to be accelerated here. So there is no formal determination of cause of death. There is no toxicology report. There is no formal label of suspect, because you can't call somebody a suspect until you know that it's a homicide. But again, we can tell you.
No, they are saying that now. So maybe, no, they are saying he is a suspect and there is a homicide. They are saying that.
That investigators in robbery homicide are viewing this as a homicide.
As a homicide.
And they are viewing David as the suspect. But
there you go. That's where we are. But you know, you can say but or whatever. That's where we are. That's the official information that came out. It's a homicide. David's a suspect. That's all we know, really. And this mysterious trip, that's true as well that he did. But that supposedly is a real big thing in the case, but we won't get to know until it all comes out. Now then, I've still got 2 things that I wanted to talk about, but you know what? I can't, because I've got to go and make lunch and stuff. They're only maybe I can. They're only brief things. I wanted to talk about Gus Lamont. It's a very short thing. Could I do it? I don't, you know, the thing is, I want to do justice to Gus and to Anna Kepner, because the thing about Anna Kepner is it now turns out that, you know, it's likely that one of her stepbrothers is going to be charged with her murder, but that the other stepbrother ended up unknowingly, he, you know, was slept that night sort of just yards from her body. But do you know what? I'm not going to do it, because as I get tired and hungry and I get hangry, I won't be doing justice. I mean, these cases are important. So I'll come on later and talk about the other 2 cases. In the meantime, the other cases that I've spoken about, and thank you for all your contributions and your chat and for caring about them. I will split this video into smaller videos at some point over the weekend and release them as shorter videos. So just to let you know that. But in the meantime, listen, thank you so much. I'll see you really soon in the next video. Please don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're not already subscribed for updates on these cases. There's a lot of cases. The thing is, I'm not taking on any new cases at the moment to talk about, because you know, there's so many like that are emerging, developing cases, and I want to do them justice. But yeah, any sort of special news that comes up, I'll let you know. But in the meantime, I'll see you really soon in the next video. Thank you for watching, and may your God go with you, and peace, love and light to everyone. That's a lovely thing to say. Thank you, And same to you, of course, as well. See you soon. And may your God go with you. Thank you.